Data tables are one of Excel's handy tools for what-if analysis. They allow you to explore different scenarios by changing one or two input variables. And ultimately, data tables are going to make it easy to see how different combinations of your inputs will impact the results you're interested in. Like always, these are better explained with an example rather than words, so let's get back to our practice file. Our first example reflects a basic cost volume profit analysis. Essentially, this examines how our operating income will change primarily based on changes in sales volume, how many units we sell. On this left-hand side here, we have information about a single product that a company manufactures. The product sells at a price of $50. It has a variable cost per unit of $30 with fixed costs of 20 grand. Fixed costs are those that do not change as we produce more or less of a good. Then, one of our most important inputs in this whole equation is our sales volume, the number of units of our product that we expect to sell. In this case, our default assumption is that we're going to sell 1,500 units. These figures then come into play in an abbreviated income statement to the right. We anticipate total sales of $75,000, and this cell is a formula that references both our price and sales volume. Total variable costs similarly are based on variable cost per unit times sale volume. We plug in our fixed costs, and then this cell, F5, is our operating income, which was calculated as the sum of all of these prior items. I know that was a lot to walk through, but it's critical to understand that this final cell, operating income, was constructed as a formula that references cells which reference other cells and would ultimately change if I modified any single one of these inputs. Now we're ready to construct a data table. Like I said before, this is a way to map out a variety of different outcomes. In this case, we want to look at how operating income will vary based on different inputs. What if we want to see how this is going to change if our sales volume were higher or lower? Or what if we changed our prices? A data table will allow us to evaluate the outcomes of all combinations we specify. So let's build out this data table. I'll start with this orange box in the top left corner. It doesn't have to be orange, I've colored it that way. I've done it so you can easily see the connection between it and the cell we're just about to reference, operating income. So type with me equals F5. This cell is going to be a reference to that operating income number. And just to demonstrate that everything flows through this cell, let's change our sales volume from 1,500 to 1,200. Here you can see that both cells of operating income are going to adjust accordingly. So first things first, a data table needs to have a cell in the top left corner whose value references one or more inputs. But now we want to see how our operating income will change with different sales volumes and prices. As these instructions state, we first want to explore outcomes where sales volume ranges between 1,000 to 2,000 units in increments of 100. I'm going to list these as a column in my data table. You don't need these labels. I've included them just to help us follow along. But I'm going to start by typing in the number 1,000 in this first cell and then 1,100 in the next. After selecting both of these, I can use the fill handle to drag this down and get all of those numbers. Excel recognizes the pattern of adding 100 each time, so we filled out our sales volume. Next, we want to check different prices from $46 per unit all the way to $52. I'll add $1 here, select both of these cells, and use the fill handle to copy across all those columns. Once we have our formula-based cell in this top left corner and different inputs in this column and row, we can select this entire area from cell G9 to O20, and this is going to be the output of a data table. To create this, I'm going to go up to the ribbon and select Data. Under the Forecast pane, there's one option that says What If Analysis. I'll click that, and the very last option is Data Table. To create this data table, we just need two inputs. The first one says, which is the row input cell? Meaning we need one single cell that is going to be our lever based on the values we put in this row of our data table. This row referred to prices. And where do I find prices in cells referenced in this top left box? Up here in cell C2, I click it. So one more time. Our row input cell is asking us to say, okay, this lever, price, that you're going to use as the top row of the data table, where do we find the first input for these values? In this case, it was the selling price in C2. Our column was sales volume. So where do we reference that? Cell C6. When I hit OK, we can now explore various different levels of operating income across these two dimensions. I want to show one more quick trick to help us analyze what's going on here. We're going to apply some conditional formatting. So selecting all of these outcome cells, I'm going to go up to Home in the ribbon, click Conditional Formatting, and let's start by setting up a rule where I want cells that are less than 0 to be highlighted in red. I type in a 0 here, and this shows, hey, if we're ever in this territory, that means we're running an operating loss. That's something we don't desire, right? So I'm going to hit OK. Next, what if I want to apply additional formatting? Where I want to highlight in green cells that have a target profit higher than $10,000. I'll click Conditional Formatting, highlight cell rules greater than $10,000, but I'll change this from light red fill to green and hit OK. So as you can see, a data table is useful. It maps out an entire frontier of possibilities with differences in price and differences in sales volumes. If I'm looking to make at least $10,000 at my company this year, I know that if I have a price of $50, I need to at least sell 1,500 units to get me there. Let's try it again, but this time we'll use a time value of money formula as our focal cell. We're going to use our example from the sheet Payment 2 as our example. This is when we are going to purchase a townhome using a loan for $320,000 at a 30-year fixed interest rate of 6.5%. Let's suppose now that we want to explore different options. Having analyzed our income and recurring debt payments, we've decided that we'll be comfortable with any loan that has a payment less than $2,250. We've also heard that interest rates have been pretty volatile right now, so we want to see how sensitive changes in mortgage rates will affect our ability to secure a loan that meets our payment criteria. So specifically, these instructions state that we need to create a data table that provides us with different payment outcomes. We're going to be referencing cell C6 here. But the two inputs we want to examine are loan amounts, which was the present value parameter in our payment function, that range from $300,000 to $400,000 in $10,000 intervals. We also want to look at interest rates ranging from 6.25 to 6.75%. We'll then apply some conditional formatting to showcase options that accommodate a payment under $2,250. So again, the top left cell needs to be a formula based on other inputs or parameters. Here, I'm just going to reference our payment cell in C6, which again was based on all of the above inputs. I'll put my rates as the row here, starting with 6.25%. I'll do 6.3% and drag this to the right. I'll put my loan amount here, again that was the present value, starting at $300,000. I'll do $310,000 next and drag that down. Again, this is a pretty important step. Sometimes you'll run into errors, but if you highlight this entire selection from cell E9 to P20, you need to have the whole thing highlighted. We'll go to Data, What If Analysis, and Data Table, and then we specify our row input cell and column input cell. What is our row here? Different rates. So if we change cell C2 with these numbers, and if we change our columns, the loan amount or present value here, we will get the following outcomes. Awesome. Let me change these to dollar amounts. I'll go to Home, format these as dollars, zoom out so we can see all of them. And lastly, I'll apply conditional formatting to highlight cells that are less than 2250. Make them green just for UVU. So now we can see that in the rosiest of situations with rates, if they go as low as 6.25%, we can get a loan amounting to $360,000. If rates go up, it's not super sensitive. Our worst case scenario is $340,000. Again, this helps give us a range of different possibilities given these different levers.